All right, guys. Good day, everyone. Welcome to my channel. It's your boy, Rich Kid Mario. Guys, for the first time in my life, all my years in Abuja, I visited Suleja. I've never been to Suleja before. I've only been hearing about Suleja. And I've been in Abuja for let me see, about more than 13 years. Though I've been in and out, but I live in Abuja. So I just visited Suleja for the first time. And I must say to you, that place is really far. I think it's far to me because I work, I work in town. I work around Wuse, and going from Bega, it was like about 50 minutes to 1 hour journey, you know, to that place. So for me, I think it's far. I know to many other people, it's not far because, it's something they've been doing every day. So when you're doing one particular thing, when you're covering a particular distance every day, like it feels like it's not really, you would not see it as a far place. Like it was my first time going there, so for me, I consider it as a far place. So why am I making this video? I actually wanna educate you, so if you're moving to Abuja, I think locations is something you need to consider, where you would stay and places that you need to stay, places you need to live. And one of the things to put into consideration is your salary. Okay, first, that salary first. I'm going to break it down, but let me just list the things that you should put into consideration. So, first is your salary. Secondly, is the cost of transportation. Um, the third one, I think, is availability of vehicle. Uh, then another one we can actually talk about is time it takes for you to get home. Another thing too is the stress. So I'm going to take them one by one from the top. So the first one I talked about is your salary. If you want to rent a place in Abuja, if you just got a job in Abuja and you want to rent a place, first thing you should consider is your salary. Now, I know most people would want to go and stay in a far place just because houses are cheap there or houses are affordable there. But first thing first, before you go to a far place, you should consider your salary. You know how much you are earning. Let's say, for instance, some you are earning 100,000, and then you want to go and stay in a place like, I think I'll use Suleja as a reference because I just went there and I spent roughly about 1,500 naira just for going. Coming back, I spent the same thing basically. But where I went to, I didn't. There was no need for me to hop on a bike. I used the public transport. So an average rate in and out should be 3,000. You're coming to Bega, it's 3,000 in and out. Now, you might not be working in Bega. You might be working in Wuse, so you might need to board another taxi to work, and that might cost you about 200, 300. So literally, you might be spending like 3,500 naira for transport every day. Now, the thing is, if you are earning 100,000, what you should consider, why I say you should consider your salary, is you have to compare your salary and your cost of transportation in a year or in a month. Let me just put it in a month. So if you are earning 100,000 naira a month and then you are spending 3,500 naira for transport every day, do you think do you think the equation is balanced? Do you think, mind you, you are earning a salary, you need to save as well, you have other expenses, you have other responsibilities like light bill, water bill, and everything. So let's say, for instance, you're earning 3,000, you're earning 100,000 naira every month, and your transportation is 3,500 naira every day. So in 10 days, That's that's 35,000. In 20 days, that's 70,000. Okay. And some people work 26 days. So you are spending roughly about 75 to 80,000 in a month for transport and you're earning 100,000. Now if you do this calculation in a year, you see that you are mostly spending all your earnings on transportation, which makes no sense because what are you left with? You cannot save, obviously. You still haven't eaten, haven't calculated food, you still haven't eaten, and other miscellaneous expenses. This explains both the salary and the cost of transportation. Now let me go to availability of vehicle. What I mean by availability of vehicle is that you know your kind of job and where you stay. Do you think if, for instance, you work, you resume work by 6 a.m. I'm not saying I don't know if people actually, because in Lagos people leave their home to work for around 4 a.m. and stuff like that. But in Abuja, it's mostly like 6, 7. So around 6, 7 a.m., do you think you can actually get a car, a taxi from your house to work around that time? That's one. Secondly, do you think when you close late, can you get a taxi to your house around that time? Now, when I'm talking about taxi, I'm not talking about you ordering boat, or I'm talking like a public transport, because in Abuja we use taxis like the small cars for public transport. So I'm talking about the small cars. Do you think they would go to where you live around that time? Like maybe let's say you close the office around 9, 10, 11, and 12, 9, 10, 11 p.m. Do you think you can get a taxi to your house? So these are things you need to consider before renting a place, before renting a house. Then also, what you need to consider is time, the time it takes for you to get to work and back from work. You need to consider this thing. You need to consider the time. Time is money, like they say, and it's really important because there are times, nobody is perfect. There are actually times when you would, let's say you resume work around 7 a.m. and then you've always been setting your alarm for like 5:30, and probably it takes you about 30 minutes from your house to get to work. There are times you lag behind. You might not wake up the time your alarm beeps. You might just sleep off, and you would want to rush to work. If you're living in a place that's far and it probably takes you 30 minutes, and then you are already 40 minutes late, how do you get to work? Like, you only have 10 minutes in between. How do you make it to work? Do you think you'll be able to make it to work in that 30 minutes? Or do you think you'll be able to get ready in time frame? So this is one thing you need to consider. Then another thing you need to consider is the stress. To be honest, work is not easy. You go to work, work is work. It's either whatever you're doing, it's either you're using your brains or you're using your hands. Regardless, even though you're using your hands or your brain, you are still working. Like, and everybody know work can be tiring, so tiring, can be exhausting. So you should consider the stress when you're done with work, the stress involved in you getting home or going to work. Nobody wants to, I bet you would not want to go to work already exhausted. You understand? And you would not want to come back from work. First thing first, work has already exhausted you, and then you're going back home, and then you're facing like loads amount of stress. I bet nobody would want that. So these are things you need to consider: your salary, the cost of transportation, availability of vehicle, the time, and the stress level. So these are things you need to consider. And for me, I notice a lot of people, when they want to rent a place, They don't really put all these things into consideration. They only think about the money. Oh, it's cheap. Okay, I work in Wuse. Oh, it's cheap in Gwagwalada. Okay, it's cheap in Maraba. Houses are affordable in Maraba. You can get a house for like 60,000 in whatever place it is. Okay, it's very cheap. But have you considered putting all these things that are listed above, all these things that are listed previously? If you actually check and you do the calculation, you see and you find out that you are actually spending more on transport, though you are not spending anything for rent, but you are spending more on transport. Now, if you work in Wuse, I'm using Wuse as a base because Wuse is like people who are in Abuja, they understand. Wuse is like is a popular place, and a lot of people work in Wuse, in the central area and stuff like that. So you notice that there are some people who work in Wuse and they live actually closer. Let me make mention of places like Jabi, um, some part of central area, some part of Wuse. We have Wuse zone 1, 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, zone 6, zone 7. So, but the thing is that rent is actually high in these places. But just imagine, let's take for instance, you live close to your work and you wouldn't have to spend too much. Maybe you just have to walk to your office, but your rent is high. If you compare these two people, if you compare these two people, like someone who is staying in Suleja, for instance, and is working in Wuse, and a colleague is also working in Wuse, but he's staying in somewhere close. If you do your calculations right, you would notice that the one living close might not be spending too much in a year. So that's what I'm saying. You need to consider many things. There are so many things to put into consideration before renting a place. So, but I notice a lot of people actually don't consider all these things. They just think, oh, because house is cheap far away from town, they'll just rent a place there and start coming to work. And whoever is staying close to his workplace, he's definitely not gonna stress. He or she is definitely not gonna stress going to work. Like because if I'm staying close to work and I just have to walk to my office, then I have no problem. Like it's just a walk. Could be like a 5 to 10 minutes walk. That means literally I'm not spending anything on transportation, but everything, all my transportation and everything is being calculated and put on the rent, which is the rent close to my office. So these are just things you need to consider. I think many people make mistakes when renting a place, and they actually never know that they are spending more on transportation than renting a house or an apartment close to town. So this is only a video to create awareness. It's only to educate you. I'm only trying to educate you so you don't make the wrong choices or you don't make the wrong decisions just because rent is cheap outside town. So, all right, thank you guys. Please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you want more of tips like this, I'll be doing for Lagos City as well. I'll be doing for Ghana because these are places that I've lived